All right, no, it's just back. Okay, cool. Hey everyone, I'm Alder, and first of all, thank you to Foresight. They keep inviting me to speak, and I feel like I don't really bring a lot of technical, but I do bring something, so they keep inviting me. So anyway, solar system, not to scale. Cool, awesome. 2020s, we're looking at America, China. 2030s, we're getting some more people on the moon. Maybe if Elon figures it out, he'll get over there, over to Mars. 2040s, we're getting out to the asteroid belt. 2050s, then we're saying, okay, cool, getting quite a few actors out there in the solar system. But this is 30 years ahead. So we are much closer to that first Falcon 9 than we are to this kind of finished product. We're very much in the everything is exploding, and we're kind of at the beginning of things phase. So who will you be hiring when we get here? Who will be voting for your policies when we are here? So a little bit of a primer. This is a talk I usually give to school groups. And another primer. School groups, usually you need to make sure that people are actually paying attention. So there is an audience participation portion of this. Oh, you weren't warned. OK. So here's some activities. I'm just going to get a sense of like what people are gravitating towards. So in the next couple slides, I'm going to ask an A or a B. Raise your hand for A. Don't raise your hand for B. OK? So again, raise your hand for A. Don't raise your hand for B. All right. You're blowing things up in your backyard, or you're convincing junkyards to get busted, give you busted machines. Hands for A. Ooh, OK. So here's some people you might recognize. This is kind of a sense of what is this initial spark that gets you on the path to doing something like covering the Earth in satellites. So I'm sure a couple of people here know Creon. Others maybe know Ben. But basically, these are both people that have a real significant, impact on at least the current way that a section of the space industry is going. All right, so again, A or B? A, you're studying art in the mountains, or B, you just want to go to Iowa and you want to study human decomposition. Ooh. OK, not a lot of people want to study human decomposition. OK, well. So this can get someone onto the path of helping someone live in space, helping us develop better mechanisms for helping bone growth in space, or just studying how we die. If we're really serious about a civilization off-world, we're not going to solve immortality by that time, so people are going to die. And then we need to figure out how people are actually going to bury their dead or dispose of our remains. Again, we're talking about a human civilization. We're not talking about infinite clones of the exact same person. There is no city on the planet that is all one person with all the same views or skin tone or ideology or profession. We're talking about a civilization off-world. Let's actually prepare for it. All right, A or B? Hate math, love logic, or let's see. OK. Now, he didn't know this beforehand, but we got a call out for someone here. I definitely talked to Chris about his favorite punk bands. Anyway, again, this is talking about what was that first thing that got you interested in dedicating your life to space and space exploration. So let's go, A or B? Ooh, this one's a little bit more balanced. OK. Interesting. I love this. This is great. All right. So we've got Blue Origin folks, or we've got a guy who you've probably seen some shows or movies that he's in. How do we spark this initial thing like, OK, if you want to dedicate yourself to science and space exploration, how do you start on that path? And I think this is final one. Yeah. So A or B? OK. All right. Excellent. And we've got our private and public astronauts. So at the beginning of this talk, I talked about, okay, we're looking at these time horizons in decades. The people that are going to be living off-world, living on the moon, living on Mars, most of them haven't even been born yet. So how do we, as people who are professions, some of us are communicators, some of us are scientists, some of us are lawyers, how do we help the people that are around us, especially the young people, start taking that first step? So I run a community where I've personally and helped people, hundreds of thousands of people, talk about, okay, how do you want to join the space industry? Are you a waitress? How do you take your first steps? Are you a policymaker? How do you take your first steps? Are you a roboticist? How do you take your first steps? If we're serious about humanity off-world, not just outposts and things like this, humanity off-world in all of its flaws and complexity and culture, we need to really be serious about there is a space for everyone in space. As you can probably tell by the lack of data and all kinds of normal things compared to the rest of the conference, I am not in the space industry. I do not consider myself in the space industry. I consider myself perhaps a fan, perhaps a booster, but my main thing is in manufacturing. I help people access a different technology, 3D printing and manufacturing, and I help people get kind of their start there by upgrading their hardware. But one thing I do is help people get their first steps into space and manufacturing. And since I've been given my 1-minute warning, if you'd like to join some of the things that I do and help me radicalize, and I do mean radicalize, people to work in space, then those are some QR codes. So, thank you.
Please put them in the WhatsApp as well.
I'll get the WhatsApp up there. Okay, yes. So. I know, I presented no data, so there's no questions.
Well, in that case, that concludes. Oh, we have one question.
Oh, okay.
Tom.
So I spent a fair bit of time thinking through some of these workforce development issues. And near term, it's things like how do you train up the next generation of AI&T and technicians, engineers, that sort of thing, artisans to do some of this work. But that's looking at near-term things. We have no idea, right, what's going to be needed in 50 years.
Yep.
What are the kind of, like societal, educational, blah, blah, blah frameworks that you envision needing to kind of start to champion, foster? Is it just general curiosity? Is it, willingness to take risks? What are the things that need to be kind of, pushed forward to get those people that aren't here yet to the point we need them to be when we want to get out to further in space?
So when I'm working with students, I work with populations on more like the more resource schools and the less resource schools. Yep. And one of the things that I am mostly on the lower resource schools, but sometimes on the higher resource schools, there is this image that, okay, if you don't have the resources, then that's not for you. That is a closed door. You don't get to go in. Those are for the well-resourced schools or well-resourced populations. Similarly, there are branches of science, just particular verticals of science. Like, okay, we don't want the physicists here. We don't want the roboticists here. They don't get to go. We've talked about, one of the things I've loved about this conference is we talked about a variety of different technologies. So certainly scientific technologies, but also financial technologies and legal technologies. I don't have an answer to, but I think that perhaps people should start thinking about a cultural technology, a mimetic technology, something where right now there's very established things out there where there's a message where, okay, humans are a cancer and we need to stay on the planet. We need to be limited. We can't climb to the stars. I would say that we should try and figure out, okay, what does the opposite side of that coin look like? So,
thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, Alder.